Yeah, no, and I saw you, Piers, in a restaurant, and I said, hey, Piers, good to see you.
Yeah.
I would come on your show, but I don't do panels.
Right.
And I said the same
panel.
thing to your bookers.
There's only one
and
of
so
you
when
don't.
I asked you, and right, okay, and so, yes, and I said that's why I agreed to do it. But when you asked me, or when your team asked me what subjects, and I asked them 2 or 3 times, I have the text messages, what do you want to cover?
Yeah.
Not once was CNN mentioned.
Piers Morgan has Don Lemon on his show to talk about cancel culture, what happened with him on CNN, and then also the death of Charlie Kirk, his response to it, and why some people were frustrated with him. And Don Lemon's just kind of an annoying individual. It's not even because he's clearly more left, even though he tries to say he's independent or he's like not Democrat or Republican. He's one of those people that I feel like whenever we're having a conversation, I can't trust the words that are coming out of your mouth, that they're being genuine, and that you don't actually want to have civil discourse. You just want to spew your side. And there's people on the right that do that as well, but he's never been someone that I just look at and be like, oh yeah, I trust what he's saying. But before we get into this video, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to RTM News because it ensures to YouTube that you're enjoying these videos, and in turn, they'll continually show up in your feed and they'll push it out to more people. I'm Titus. Let's get into this video.
This is what led to you leaving CNN. Let's take a look at the clip.
She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s. I don't necessarily.
40s. Oh, I got another
I'm not saying
decade.
I agree.
That was when everybody thought Don Lemon went red pill. He was watching a little too much Fresh and Fit, and they were like, oh my gosh, get him on the Whatever Pod tomorrow. No, but like, I don't even think that was actually what he was trying to say. He was just saying that's what people say. That's what got him fired. That is kind of crazy. But yeah, the time period in which this was released, you got canceled over everything. So I'm not even that surprised by it. Like, you got a black gay man fired from CNN just because he said what other people said about women being in their prime. And you can see these women on the panel are like uncomfortable with this. What do you mean their prime? But hey, reap what you sow, I guess. He said a lot of nonsense and so he got fired for it. Or not for that, but this.
Agree with that. So I think she has to be careful about saying that.
When you watch that, Don, I happened to be watching that live, and I was like, whoa, what did you just say? If you had a do-over, would you say that again? I mean,
he looks pissed off. Look at his face. Oh, well, not that one. But Don Lemon looked pissed.
I mean, what led you to say that?
Okay, Piers, let me just say this. I'm going to answer your question, but just so the audience knows, and I hope you don't cut this out, when I asked you what subjects you wanted to talk about, you know what you said to me? You said, I want to talk to you about freedom of speech in America and the response to Charlie Kirk's death.
Yeah.
Not once did you mention that we were going to talk about CNN or whatever. So, and had I known that, I probably wouldn't have accepted this interview. You have invited me on many times, and I tell you, Piers, I know you. I would come on your show, but I don't do panels. And so when you said I'm not going to be involved in a panel, I agreed to come on your show. But I thought you would also stick by the subjects that you told me that you were going to talk about.
Just to be clear,
rather than try to ambush me with something.
Just to be clear,
so,
you and I
yes.
haven't. Well, Don, just to be clear, you and I haven't had any conversation about your appearance here. You're talking about my team talking to you.
Yeah, no, and I saw you, Piers, in a restaurant, and I said, hey, Piers, good to see you.
Yeah.
I would come on your show, but I don't do panels.
Right.
And I
not
said
on
the
a
same
panel.
thing to your bookers.
There's only one
and
of
so
you,
when
Don.
I asked you, and right. Okay, and so, yes, and I said that's why I agreed to do it. But when you asked me, or when your team asked me what subjects, and I asked them 2 or 3 times, I have the text messages, what do you want to cover?
Yeah.
Not once was CNN mentioned. So I don't appreciate being ambushed. But let me answer your question
Hang on one second. No, Don, hang on 1 second.
Before Piers goes into this, I see both sides of this argument. Well, one, his team was handling it, and so he had a conversation. Don Lemon had a conversation with Piers' team on what they would be discussing. And if I've been on news before, and they told me what we're going to talk about, and if I just got kind of ambushed with something that I wasn't expecting, I'll be irritated with that. But also, you cannot fully blame Piers because if he wasn't aware of the fact that he wasn't able to address this, but you're going to see that he says later on that they were talking about CNN, and so that's how it got here. But this. When he said we talked at a restaurant, it was about not being on panels, not talking about CNN. So using that as some sort of evidence for him like ambushing you and blindsiding you is not actually applicable, because when you talk to the restaurant, it was that you don't want to do panels, and this is not a panel. And also, why would you not want to do panels? Can you not defend your beliefs? Can you not defend your positions against all these other people? I mean, I guess maybe it's uncomfortable for you. I don't know. Maybe you don't want to deal with the controversy or the maybe stressful. I don't know. People like yelling at you, screaming at you that you're wrong. I don't know, but like, he didn't give you the panel, and that's what he said to you in person. Everything else was his team. So trying to act as if he's ambushing you is interesting. But I guess I get if you weren't. I don't know if you didn't think think this is something that's going to be brought up, but you'll see. So let's just continue to see how this goes.
Let's just be crystal clear about what's just happened. You brought up the subject of cancel culture. I asked you, did you feel your departure from CNN was an example of that? And you answered the question. And I think it's perfectly reasonable.
And I answered the question.
Perfectly reasonable in that if you'd said to me, I don't...
New information brought to the light. So we're talking about cancel culture, talking about CNN. So then he asked to bring up this clip, which I guess is embarrassing for him. I know he got fired from that, but you have to expect if you're going to be in the public eye and you're being interviewed, that's something that will be brought up to you. If you were already communicating something in that sphere, in that similar area, So I don't know, Don. I don't know. Maybe you just got a little embarrassed. You don't like seeing that brought in front of your eyes again, but if you're already talking about the subject of CNN and cancel culture, and he's an example of you getting canceled wrongfully, I don't see why you'd be triggered by that. Or why you would think he's ambushing you. I think he's agreeing with you, right? Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments.
Want to talk about it? Fine. Sorry. You said what you're going to say. By the way, we don't.
Disingenuous.
Don, we don't edit.
I don't like arguing like this. I'm not going to get into an argument with you, Piers. I think that's completely disingenuous, and I think anyone watching that.
What are you talking about?
And so, if you will allow me, please.
What
please
are you
stop
talking about?
Me, okay. Did you invite me here to interrupt me, or are you going to let me?
I think you're being a complete. If I'm honest with you.
Okay.
I do.
Well, that's very kind and respectful of you.
It wasn't intended to be kind or respectful. I don't like the ad hominem attacks.
He said it wasn't intended to be kind or respectful. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Just it's a question. You said your piece. You said that you feel as if you're being ambushed. This is not what was discussed and what you would talk about. Turns out you had already been communicating about CNN and cancel culture, so it's not wild that you would bring that up. But like, you just try. I don't know if he's just trying to circle around like the topic of what they were actually going to communicate. So they'll answer the question, but let me just say all this nonsense beforehand. That's not actually applicable given all the information. So just answer the question. He's being disingenuous. I don't see where he's being disingenuous. I see him bringing up things that are obviously going to go viral. Like maybe he thought he was going to get a reaction out of you, and I guess you could say that's wrong. But if you would have just been like, yeah, what was done to me was wrong. I was just saying what someone else said. Like you could have handled that a lot better. So I feel like his reaction, I don't know. I'm not in that position currently, but I just could have handled that better. Now we have another video of him communicating he had apparently a not the best reaction to Charlie Kirk, and if we have time, or his death, or how people responded to it on the right. And if I have time, we'll play that clip for you as well. But first, I want to play this this part of the segment that he had on Piers Morgan, where he was discussing people's response to his response. So let's check it out.
Your reaction to Charlie Kirk's murder has stirred up a lot of anger on people on the right, particularly the clip we just heard, where you talk about them not really caring about what happened to him and just reacting for clicks, crying for clicks and so on. I've interviewed quite a few people who are on the conservative right who knew Charlie Kirk well. I've not detected any of that myself. I do think that they were genuinely, utterly horrified by what happened. Do you not think that what you said there was insensitive?
No, I don't. I'm surprised because I was actually taking up for Charlie Kirk. I was taking up for him as someone who died a horrible, untimely death, and that there are people who are out here trying to capitalize off of his death. I don't think it's that much different than what his friend, who is his confirmed friend, Candace Owens, is saying about folks who are using it for political and for career expediency. There are those who are doing it, and there are those who are not. And if you are not, then I don't think anyone who's not doing it took any offense to it. There's an old saying here in America, a hit dog will holler. So the folks who I felt a certain kind of way and that I touched with that statement or those statements, then perhaps they should take a look at themselves. And by the way, as you know, Piers, you've been a victim of this. Many of us have been a victim to this. You take a clip, you do a short clip that is out of context, and then you make it into something that you want it to be rather than what I said. I don't see many people on the right at all of me running clips of me saying, I think You know, it was horrible what happened to Charlie Kirk. It should never have happened. I feel terrible for his wife and his kids. The kids are fatherless. She does not have a husband right now. I don't believe in political violence at all, whether it comes from the right or the left. No one played those clips. What they did was take someone like me that they can demonize. They feel that I'm on the left. As you know, Piers, we work together. I'm not on the left. I am not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm not on the right either. I have my own mind, and I make up I make up my mind, and I decide on issues based on what I believe in and based on facts, not a certain political ideology.
Homie is definitely on the left. That being said, yeah, I mean, he's not wrong that yes, there are people that are using this to capitalize, or they're capitalizing on it for their own personal gain and growth by being a champion for Charlie Kirk. But I don't think that's majority of them. So bringing that up in this moment when it's so fresh is unnecessary. Yes, people are doing it, and you can call them out when the time is right, I guess. But I feel genuinely everything I've seen from people that are on the right are just broken, distraught, and inspired to push forward the message that they already agreed with because they aligned with Charlie Kirk. It's not a matter, and some people are being saying, if you thought we were radical before, we're going to be way more radical now. That's dumb. I disagree with that. But no, most people are just genuinely hurt that someone who just sit there, go to college campuses and have civil discourse with people, allowing them to disagree with them, allowing them to give an alternative perspective, an idea, and whatever, to communicate that with Charlie, that he was killed because of that. So, and most people are torn apart, because a lot of people met him and knew him in this movement. Charlie was very accessible, in some ways. And no, I don't think it's just necessary to bring that up at this time, But anyways, Don Lemon, I just don't trust the guy. I just generally don't. I don't know. Maybe he is a trustworthy person. I mean, I'm sure I've talked about him for years, and I'm sure he said a lot of things that weren't true or things I disagreed with, but I've shifted my mind on things too in my life, So I just don't trust him. He seems slimy to me, and I don't like the way he handled that. I think he could have done a lot better of a job, and to compare himself to Candace is crazy. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to comment down your thoughts below. I want to know what you guys are thinking on this, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.